We love e-bikes. We love how accessible they make cycling, and we love how sophisticated the technology they use is. But they can be quite confusing. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about e-bikes and how to buy one. I'm going to talk about road e-bikes, hybrid e-bikes, mountain e-bikes, and I'll define terminology such as watt-hours, power, mid-drive motors, and torque, amongst others. Now, to help demonstrate all of this, I have the Kinesis Range, which is a brand new electric bike from the British brand. And it's a great example of a really versatile e-bike. It comes with a lightweight battery and motor system from Fazua, and it's available in a drop bar and a flat bar version like I have here. Now I'm going to talk you through all of this and more without falling in this pond behind me. One of the most confusing things about electric bikes is the jargon that surrounds them. But understanding it and understanding how it affects your ride experience is really important. Now, in basic, an electric bike will consist of a motor and a battery. On my Kinesis Range, that's a Fazua Ovation system. Now, the motor can provide up to 250 watts of continuous support, but it will be able to boost higher than that in some situations and for a limited period of time. Legally, all e-bikes in Europe are capped at 25 kilometers an hour, so above that limit, you will not receive any more support. This is what's known as pedal assist because it literally assists your pedaling. Some brands display this as a percentage, and this can be anything between 50% and 300% depending on the mode. Other brands display it as a wattage. In my case, on this Fazua system, its peak power is 450 watts. When you read about e-bikes, you'll see torque mentioned as much as power. Now, torque, in terms of science, is a rotational force around an axis. In the terms of an e-bike, that is the rotational force generated by the motor that drives the rear wheel. Now, torque is actually one of the most important things about e-bikes, and I'll talk about it more when I get onto the different motor systems later on. But in short, it is what generates that feeling of acceleration when you start pedaling. Finally, one other significant term you'll come across a lot is watt-hours. Now, watt-hours are used to describe the capacity of the battery on the electric bike. For example, my Fazua Ovation system has a capacity of 250 watt-hours. Therefore, if I rode at 250 watts continuously, I would get 1 hour of support from the battery. Just like with normal bikes, in the world of e-bikes, you also get great variation in different models, including e-mountain bikes, e-road bikes, and e-hybrid bikes, amongst others. Now, all of these take that terminology I've just described and apply it to their own unique set of challenges. E-mountain bikes, for example, are much more likely to have higher torque ratings, which is really important when you're riding off-road and up steep climbs. Likewise, by applying a battery and a motor to an e-mountain bike, you're basically able to have an uplift without needing a car or a truck. That way, when you get to the descents, you'll often feel fresher and able to ride them faster. E-hybrid bikes like my Kinesis are also as equally likely to benefit from increased torque because you'll get a bigger acceleration. That's really useful if you're starting from stopped at traffic lights or if you're riding in traffic. They also offer loads of advantages because you can ride to work and you'll be less sweaty, or you can commute further distances. It's also possible to get e-folding bikes, which offer these same benefits but with the portability that their form offers. However, acceleration and torque is potentially less important on an e-road and an e-gravel bike, where you might prioritise battery capacity and a light weight from the bike's frame. Now, this can be for many reasons, one of which might be that you don't want the electric bike to do all of the work when you're cycling uphill. And typically, e-road bikes have found a way to replicate a ride feel as close to a normal bike as possible. Brands are very specific when it comes to electric bikes and will spec different systems for different jobs, and that includes motor placement, power and torque delivery, and pedaling resistance. Knowing what you want when you go into the buying process will make the whole thing so much easier. There are a couple of things to look out for when it comes to motor placement on e-bikes. Now the first one is what's called hub driven, and that's where the motor is in the rear hub on the rear wheel and the battery lives in the bike's down tube. Now this is used to great effect on e-road bikes to create a normal looking bike, and it can also be a lightweight system. The second system is a mid-drive motor, and they look more bulky, but they benefit from placing the weight lower down and by the bottom bracket. This is what my Fatsuo system does, which places the 1.3 kilogram system lower down, and this can have a really positive effect on the bike's handling and its performance. The other great benefit of this system is they work in synergy with your gears, which can increase the overall efficiency of the system. The torque number of a system is also really important. Some brands prioritize a lower torque, and this is to create a normal riding feel. This means the bike will not surge or accelerate as quickly when you start pedaling. A good example of brands that do this are E-Bike Motion and Specialized, who have torque ratings of 40 Newton meters and 35 Newton meters respectively. Now, of course, the lower torque you have, the less acceleration you'll have, and that means you have to put more effort in yourself, especially when going uphill. For context, my Fatsuo system gives out 55 Newton meters of torque, which is a great in-between, but can work really well for e-gravel bikes to give them a bit more assistance when riding off-road. In comparison, the Bosch Performance Line systems deliver 75 Newton meters of torque, which is about as high as it will usually go. You should also look at what cadence the system delivers power to, and this can be used to make a bike feel much more natural. For example, my Fatsuo system delivers power between 50 RPM and 120 RPM, which is a really big spread, which makes the power delivery feel much smoother and much more natural. Of course, battery capacity is really important when it comes to electric bikes, and it's something of a hot topic. E-mountain bikes will typically have a much larger battery capacity than an e-road bike, and this is because of their use on off-road and steep technical terrain. Also, the fact that you'll never really ride above 25 kilometers an hour means that they'll be in more constant use. Systems with bigger battery capacity include Shimano's Steps and Bosch's Performance CX line. Of course, there are trade-offs. Larger capacity batteries will weigh more, so e-road bikes and e-gravel bikes will often spec a smaller capacity battery. This is because you're much more likely to ride above the limit of assistance, so above 25 kilometers an hour, and they also want to prioritize keeping the bike's weight down. Now, my Fatsuo Ovation system is a great example of a lighter weight battery. It has 250 watt-hours of support and only weighs 3.3 kilograms with the motor included. It's also worth thinking about how you charge the battery. Some systems will allow you to take the battery out of the frame and charge it separately, where other models have to be charged as a whole. You can also get battery extender packs for some systems, which will boost your range. You should also take stated distances with a pinch of salt, because these can be affected by a huge amount of things, including elevation, temperature, tire pressure. The list really goes on. Once you know which system will complement your riding the most, then you can learn how far it will go by taking notes on your rides of key data such as ambient temperature, tire pressure, elevation, and power modes used. There really is no substitute for experience when it comes to learning how far you can go on an e-bike. The final point to consider is resistance, and by resistance I mean how hard is the bike to pedal once you go above the 25 km/h limit. Now, some systems claim to be frictionless, which will provide a much more seamless change between assistance and your own pedaling. Just like buying a normal bike, we'd recommend that you pop down to your local bike shop where they'll have loads of expertise and can talk you through any complicated jargon. They'll also have loads of models that you can test, and like I've already said, there really is no substitute for experience when it comes to buying an e-bike. You can, of course, buy your e-bike online, but even better, you can buy your e-bike online and support your local bike shop. Kinesis offer a click and collect service where you can buy the bike on Kinesis's website and it will come to your local Kinesis dealer. Even better, there's no longer a limit to the cycle to work scheme, which means you can buy your e-bike and benefit from the savings offered. It works for a salary sacrifice scheme, which means you pay for your bike before you pay tax, and this can save you anywhere between 25% and 39% off the cost of the bike. Now, just like when you buy a normal bike, there are also some accessories that you need to get when you buy an e-bike. Now, there is no legal ruling that says you have to wear a helmet when you ride a bike, but we would always recommend that you do. And if you're going to be riding your bike for commuting, there are some really nice styled helmets like this one from Nutcase that look really nice and provide lighting solutions all the way around it. Now, we would also recommend that you get yourself some tools in case you have a mechanical when you're riding. As standard, we'd recommend you buy a multi-tool, a hand pump, and a set of tyre levers so you can swap out a tube should you get a puncture. Now, we'd also recommend that you buy yourself a track pump. Now, the benefit of this is that they have a much higher volume, so they can inflate your tyres more quickly, and they can also show you what PSI that your tyres are inflated to. They're great to have in your garage or in your house so you can just top up your tyres before you go out on a bike ride. We would of course also recommend that you buy yourself a set of lights, because the highway code states that if you're going to ride your bike between sunset and sunrise, you must have both a front light and a rear light to keep yourself safe from traffic. So there you go, everything you need to know about buying an e-bike. If you have liked this video or if you found it useful, then give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have any other questions, then do leave them in the comments section below and we'll do our best to answer them. But thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.